In the beginning, there was only darkness. God then said, "Let there be light." God saw this and said it was good. That concludes the first day. At the beginning of the third day, God said, "Let the water under the sky be gathered into a single basin, so that dry land may appear." And then dry land appeared. And then he named the basin of the water the sea. Then God said, "Let the earth bring forth vegetation." Then plants bearing seeds and fruits sprawled across the earth, and God said it was good. That concludes the third day. Then God said, "Let the water teem with the abundance of living creatures on this earth. Let birds fly beneath the dome of the sky." He saw all of the sea creatures, less and birds he created. Then he said it was good. Then God created a special creature, humans, and then he asked them to be created in his image and likeness, to let them have dominion over all the creatures of earth. God created male and female in original justice and original holiness. God told them, "Go and be fertile, multiply and have dominion all over the creatures of the earth." God gave humans every seed-bearing plant and every fruit-bearing tree as their food. And he gave all of the other living creatures on earth the green plants for food. He saw everything he made and thought it was good. Slept on the seventh day.
Sometime later, God had planted a garden, Eden. In the middle of this garden was the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. God created a caretaker of Eden, Adam. He told Adam, "You may not eat from any tree, but you must not eat from the tree of knowledge, for when you eat from it, you will certainly die." God then created Eve for the man to be partners with, and gave them a blessing to multiply. But there was an evil serpent in Eden that God had created. The serpent approached Eve and told her, "Eating from the tree of knowledge would not kill her, but only open her eyes to know good and evil." So then, Eve and Adam took the fruit and ate it, deceiving God's word. After eating the fruit, they realized they were naked and in fear, hid from God when he approached. God discovered them and was enraged they had disobeyed him. He made them mortals on earth, stripping them of their original holiness and justice, severing their harmony with God and others. The time is 1280 BC. The Israelites had lived in famine within the Promised Land and were wary they had to relocate. Jacob, one of the Israelites, guided them to Egypt. Though Egypt had conquered the famine through Jacob, when the Israelites arrived, they were forced into slavery. After centuries of monotony, God responded to the Israelites' cry. Moses, born a Hebrew, was adopted into Pharaoh's family. Moses left Egypt after seeing the abuse of his people, and some years later, he had the epiphany at Mount Horeb. God came to Moses and promised him he would help free the Israelites from Pharaoh's rule, and gave the Israelites guidance. And so, they obeyed, and a storm came on the third day, terrorizing the sinners of Egypt, and thus marking the beginning of the 10 plagues. Previous to this, Moses spoke to the Israelites to paint lamb's blood above their doors, so they would be spared from the death coming to Egypt. So when death came, it passed by those houses marked with blood, and came to those not. Now the Israelites were escaping to the Promised Land under the guidance of Moses. When it seemed like they met a dead end, Moses entrusted in God and parted the Red Sea. Years later, atop Mount Sinai, Moses established the Mosaic covenant with God between the Israelites and God, setting guidelines for life in a variety of ways. After years of failure, Samson, a man sent by God, destined to save the Israelites after the Israelites weakened from sin. His unique strength was rooted in his hair. One day, Samson fell in love with a Philistine girl named Delilah. Delilah betrayed him after he fell in love with her, and she cut off his hair. Sometime later, Samson was brought out to be mocked by the Philistines. At this point, some of his hair had grown back, and he had called for strength from the Lord. Samson's prayers were answered, and he crumpled the temple, killing himself along with the ruler of Philistine within. Solomon was the third ruler of Israel. He went on to build the first temple in Jerusalem. Jeroboam, a superintendent to Solomon's people, decided to rebel against Solomon. A prophet had told Jeroboam that God would make him king to 10 of the 12 tribes he would split Israel into. Israel became divided into two, north and south. Because of this separation, both turned away from God. This allowed for Assyria and Babylon to force the divided kingdoms into exile. But the Lord came to the prophet Ezekiel through a vision. "In a valley of dry bones," the Lord spoke out. God then told Ezekiel, "These bones were the hopeless people of Israel," but God promises to Ezekiel that he will come and open their graves to bring the dead to heaven. This prophecy helped give the people of Israel hope. an important virtue of Christian faith. Ezekiel's vision wasn't just a promise to the Israelites, but a promise to all the people of the world. Many Israelites were waiting for this Messiah that was beginning to be portrayed in the prophecies, where humanity's relationship with God would be once again restored. The wait was finally over with the coming of Jesus Christ, who freed all people from their sins. This new covenant will never diminish, and nothing new will ever be revealed until Christ comes again in glory.